Welcome back to an episode of The Modern Moron. Wow, it feels strange to say that after saying it once a week for about a year and a half. I stopped doing this podcast in March, and I can't remember why I stopped. Did something happen around March that I'm missing? Actually, I did have a reason to stop doing this program, and I will get into that another time. Because my guest on this episode is an old and very dear friend from, you guessed it, my days in Los Angeles chasing the elusive career in the entertainment business. The friend I speak of is Mike Schwartz. Mike was a senior classman at the Groundling's theater school and at Sunday Company when I came in as a freshman. Mike went on to become a writer and producer for the very successful show Scrubs. And for those of you who are big fans of Scrubs, Mike also played the character Lloyd. Lloyd, if you remember, was a recurring character who was an EMT, a delivery guy, and also a patient at the hospital. There's even a wiki page for Lloyd, and I will put the link to that at the bottom of the description. But a big break for Mike came long before that, and I got to be around him when it happened. I asked Mike about Billy Crystal. Mike had the good fortune to be the writer's assistant for Billy Crystal's staff during some of the years he hosted the Academy Awards, specifically 97 and 98 when the Best Picture films were The English Patient and Titanic. Now, if you're nestled right into our demographic, you remember what a great job Crystal did as he hosted the Oscars 9 times, second only to Bob Hope, who hosted for a total of 19 Academy Awards. Billy won 2 Primetime Emmy Awards. If you'll remember, Billy was known for opening the show with a montage of scenes from nominated films that were put together where he would show up in each scene, and then he did a musical number afterward mentioning all the nominees as well. Mike was the writer's assistant for those broadcasts, and he tells a great story or two about being backstage at the Oscars because they would write jokes on the fly as events happened during the telecast, if you remember. He has a particular memory he shares for, I believe, the 1998 Academy Awards because it was its 70th anniversary. Side note, one of Mike's comedy idols was and is Albert Brooks, who has done so many great films that you know him from, like Broadcast News, Modern Romance, and Lost in America. Both of those last two he wrote himself. And of course, the voice of Marlin in Finding Nemo. So, Mike does a great Albert Brooks impression, and Billy Crystal knows and loves Albert as well. So that was sort of the gateway of establishing a special place in Billy Crystal's heart. Mike also tells a story about comedian Richard Lewis, who was speaking at a reception following a funeral for a mutual acquaintance that involves Billy Crystal as well. There. That enough context for you? It's like you and Mike are good friends with an unspoken bond. Good. We begin the call with Mike revealing to me that he just finished a therapy session. So, naturally, I immediately try to delve into his therapy with complete abandon and intrusiveness. Not a very polite thing for a host to do, but we'll see what happens. It's my friend Mike Schwartz on The Modern Moron, and as always, thank you for listening. You were busy this afternoon. Was it business related?
No, it was personal. I had
had to have something removed?
Yeah, my security. I had a therapy phone call.
Okay. All right. Are you okay talking about that?
Well, I mean,
inappropriate
to an extent. I don't want to I mean, my God. I thought.
I mean, what are you working on right now?
Jesus Christ.
That's terrible.
Tell me about your relationship with your mother.
Is that what you talked about?
Oh, I talk about. Have you ever been in therapy?
Oh God, are you kidding me?
What do you think you are, for Christ's sake? Crazy or something?
Loony.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so you talk about. I mean, everything goes back to your child. I don't.
Oh,
sound cliche, but that's the truth. Like everything that comes up in your adulthood, it all goes back to your child, which means you're emotionally neglected or emotionally abused or physically abused or didn't feel worthy because your parents were consumed with their divorce and their work, right? And you spent every day into like the evenings with your friends riding around the neighborhood because you didn't want to go home. Okay. So basically,
this is just hypothetical. This is not you.
No.
Sure you want to say that?
So in my adult life, I've been going to therapy for, 10, 15 years now. And if there's an issue, like a current issue with my partner and I, a friend and myself, my brother, or how I feel about how two people are not getting along well and I'm responsible or whatever the Steve, you delve into it and you're like, why are you relying on Karen for, you can't talk to Karen about every single problem you have. She's not your mother. And I said, here's my check and I'm out of here. No. Stuff like that. But today
You're not able to compartmentalize?
Well, I've learned to do that over many years. I've learned to my partner doesn't deserve to be leaned on for everything that's going through my head. I need to tap into my support system. I need to work stuff out or think things through on my own, right? I need to figure out what truly is of worth to talk about with my girlfriend or fiance or partner. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Do you think...
excuse me, I'm talking. So I've learned to do that. And yeah, I just wanted to finish that sentence.
Well, you mentioned support system. Do you feel like you've got a good support system? You said you can't tell everything to Karen. So do you need to cultivate...
Karen is a made-up, person.
I'm aware of that. She represents this one person that you're laying everything on. Do you need to sort of broaden your support system a little more?
Well, no. I have a good support system.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't need to broaden it unless you're,
okay.
Throwing your hat into the...
Yeah, I was going to volunteer.
That's adorable.
No, I don't need to broaden it per se, but, you brought up, and I said just a few minutes ago, I've learned over the years to not lean so much on a partner, right? Like
right.
everything that she's pissing me off or I need to talk about this. And I've learned to weigh what is worthy of a conversation with a partner. And perhaps there are some issues that I can talk through with a couple friends and my sister or something. And then there are some issues where I can just think through on my own and get to a place of understanding without leaning on anyone. And that is the most powerful I've found, because that makes me feel like I'm evolving when I don't have to lean on others. We'll be right back.
After this word from Tylenol.
Is your head pounding?
I know something I wanted to talk to you about.
Yeah.
From your past. Is no, this is a good thing. It was people will remember back when Billy Crystal was at his peak, or one of his peaks, and he was hosting the Oscars. How many years in a row did he host the Oscars? Do you remember?
In a row? He hosted the Oscars in a row, different...
Oh, maybe not in a row, but he had a string, he was the guy.
Yeah, for a long time he was the guy. I worked on the staff in the late 90s.
I remember, that was kind of it felt like a big break. And I remember asking you, tell me stories about, because you were talking to Billy Crystal, and his unique thing was he would do that montage of films to open the show where he was in all of the these climactic scenes from the nominated films, and you were part of that. Right?
Yeah, it was the second year that I was a writer's assistant on the staff, and that's where, by the way, he fell in love with my Albert Brooks. And so every morning when we'd all sit down, he goes, "Schwartz, give me some Brooks." And
really?
Yeah, I know, Steve.
And you would just get a full boner.
I was like, "Good morning, Billy. How are you? Good. Let's be funny today." But the first year, I believe the first year was Jerry Maguire. Shoot, I forgot. The second year, was Titanic, was one of the nominees, and
right,
that was the only one I was in. I'm squeaky wheel, right? Yeah,
you were in that montage.
Yeah, when he was in the Titanic scene as Billy, dressed up in that dress, that period stuff, I was one of the guys. I was right behind him, dancing. Yeah, that was a blast. Going to the Oscars and sitting right on the wings. and like pitching jokes on the fly. And I was so grateful to be treated as one of the writers, even though I was just an assistant. It was cool.
Were there any other writers on the staff that you knew from doing stand-up or
No,
knew?
no. Well, I had known of Bruce Valanche, his name. He was one of the
Okay,
writers.
yeah.
Um,
Bruce Valanche for The Block.
what's that?
Didn't he used to be on Hollywood Squares?
Oh, I don't know. I don't have any proof, but I believe you. Um,
He's
but no, I didn't.
he's a
I
pretty
didn't know
heavy guy, right?
Yes, a very nice
Yeah.
guy, at least to me. But I didn't know any of the other writers. I got the job because I was working for a production and management company at the time, Mora, Bresner, Steinberg, and Tenenbaum, and they're legendary. At this time, they managed Billy and Robin Williams, Paula Poundstone, Kids in the Hall at one point, and Dana Carvey. So David Steinberg offered me a writer's assistant job for the ESPYs one year.
Okay.
And then after that, he's like, why don't you just be the writer's assistant for Billy's staff? I'm like, awesome.
Wow.
So he was the only one I knew. And he contributed, but he's not really a writer. He's manager and producer. But I didn't know any of the other writers, and it was awesome. Quickly, it was just I fit right in, and it was cool. Billy was a sweetheart. He actually like little things. He went above and beyond to include me,
Mhm.
and yeah, it was cool. I think it was the first year, the first Oscars. We were in these like little small areas on either side of the stage, and I think it was the first year. It was the 75th anniversary of, at the very least, all the best actor and actress winners. And I opened the curtain behind us, and it was weird. It was like wax museum kind of thing. It was like from me to like 10 feet away. It was Hoffman, De Niro, John Voight. Pacino. I'm like, this is bizarre. I mean,
Was
who
it
the
just
fuck am-
surreal? Yeah.
Yeah, it was surreal. And I'm just like, I'm just trying to write a fucking skit at the Groundlings, and it was really trippy. But it was also like, I'll never forget that moment. I don't know, Jane Fonda, Ellen Burstyn, and it's like, wow,
Clint Eastwood.
yeah, all the best
Wow.
actors.
Yeah.
And
I think I remember that. They all came out on stage to honor 75th anniversary. I remember that.
yeah, I mean, basically, you're just repeating what I said, but that's cool. Um, but yeah, that's what happened, and it just was like to be that close. And
Do you ever contact Billy anymore?
no, but my last time with him, one of the partners from that company, Buddy Mora, very legendary, he died some time ago, and last year at the Laugh Factory, there was a very special memorial for him, service, and Richard Lewis spoke, and Billy kind of hosted. So I went up to David Steinberg and said hi. I hadn't seen him in years, and then Billy was behind me, and I turned around. David's like, "You remember Janice Crystal, Billy's wife?" I'm like, "Hi, Janice. Yeah. She's like, "Hi, nice to see you." I turn around. There's Billy, and I'm like, "No way, this is weird." And so anyway, that's the last time I saw him. But that was a crazy memorial service. Yeah, it just was like,
Did he recognize you? You instantly went into Albert Brooks.
yeah, that's all I could do. I mean, otherwise he wouldn't have.
And did he remember?
Oh yeah,
That's great.
he pointed to me and he looked at Steinberg and he's like, "Oh, he's here." There's this really funny moment, if I can share. Lewis is there, like all in black, of course, and like
Of course.
Billy does this opening stuff, very funny, and then kind of out of order, he's like, I have to bring up Richard because he's not feeling well. So
When is he feeling well?
Lewis walks up, really like he's very fragile, and he explains he's suffering from sciatica, and classic. And he tells all these stories about the early days of the 70s, being repped by the company, and it's like they had Letterman and Billy and Lewis and Robert Klein and okay. So Lewis is like kind of like just he's getting tired. And he's like searching for words, right? And it's quiet as shit. And so we go back to their office. We go back to the company. Crap, I'm forgetting their names. Believe it or not. And he goes, Billy, help me out. And Steve, he's like, help me out. 2, 3, 4. And Billy goes, no. And Richard Lewis, I've never seen him laugh so hard. We were all just fucking laughing. No, this guy was like so struggling. He was struggling physically and mentally. And Billy goes, no. Anyway, that's the last time I saw Billy. But those were good times. Billy was, it was great.
I just remember that being very exciting time when I'd see you, well, however many times a week, but Wednesdays, like, okay, what happened? What happened? What happened at the writing session? What did Billy do?
Listen, I was like pinching myself every day. I mean,
yeah,
I still do, and there's no one around. But it was crazy, like to make Billy Crystal laugh with my impression of Brooks. That was like, I could die right now.
I actually met Richard Lewis back in 1987 when he was already known for his HBO specials, and I was a huge fan. He was guest hosting the morning show at a radio station I was working at in Los Angeles. I was definitely starstruck by him, but I did ask him how long he'd been doing stand-up at that time, and he said about 14 years. This is back in 1987. Unbelievable. I have so much respect for those who tough it out in stand-up comedy trying to make people laugh. It's hard work, and you have to hustle, and it's a business, and while I didn't make it, as they say, it's about the journey. And in my journey, I've had the privilege to meet and get to work with some extraordinarily funny and talented people like Mike Schwartz and others, some of whom have been on this show. I do have more from my conversation with Mike, and counting by my recent reputation, I should have that for you in, say, 6 months to a year. Am I taking too long? Clearly, I have issues with commitment. I just can't. Yeah, it's not as good as Mike's Albert Brooks. Also, a link to the Billy Crystal Oscar montage is at the bottom of the show description. It's on YouTube. The scene with Billy from Titanic that Mike refers to is about 2.5 minutes in. Billy is dancing as Sammy Davis Jr., and our man Mike is in the background. So good to put out an episode for you again. Hey, can you click like or subscribe or thumbs up or whatever you can do to spread the word about this wonderful biannual podcast? I do hope you enjoyed it as much as I love talking to my friend Mike. Stay safe, be safe and healthy, and get out and vote in a couple of months, and it will all go away. I promise.
You liar!
I don't think that we should go out anymore. I mean, I just think it's over.
Okay, it's over again.
No, not again. This is it. This is the last time. It's for real. You've heard of a no-win situation, haven't you?
No.
Really, no? You've never heard of one? Vietnam? This?